technically, the moon itself is a hoax.
Right, but betting with Sportsbet's new iPhone app?
I could do this standing on my head.
Thanks, Gravity. Sportsbet's new iPhone app. It's foolproof.
The FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Earth thinks that evolution is real. Chemtrails don't exist, vaccines work. Climate change is happening, we landed on the moon. The FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Study, it's not alright. Baby, it's not alright.
We're living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Hey, welcome back to the FTFE show, and once again, my microphone is screwed up before I start. 1 second. Oh my god. Every time. Go. Apologies. Keep resetting my system. Hello, welcome back to the FTFE show. This is episode 3. And today we are going to be going over to X. And we're going to go over to X so that Will Duffy of The Final Experiment can answer any questions that Flat Earthers have been putting towards him. Because ever since the Final Experiment was announced, what the Flat Earthers have done is just, you know, cry and make mistakes. Make excuses, sorry. Is the stream working? Seems to be. Yes. Right, so I'm going to get the space started. I have never ran a space before, so let's see how this goes. Right. I am in there. Now we just have to wait for people to join. So anyway, whilst we are getting that done, whilst people join and want to ask their questions, wait for Will to join. I'll just say hello to everybody. How is everyone doing today? I hope you had an amazing month. I have had a really, really good month. You may have noticed that I've been pumping out content like crazy. There is a reason for that. On June the 14th, the new series of Flerfs Are Idiots will launch. This has been a long time coming. I haven't released a new episode in about 2 years. You all know the issues I've had with my health, and I took time off to stop being a big old fatty, to try and get my body in preparation for having my leg removed. And you know, I've worked really hard at that and hurt myself even a bit more. But I am now back in production of the videos, so I've been releasing a bunch of previous videos, waiting to get the new episodes up and running. So June the 14th, new episode of Flerfs Are Idiots, and then every Friday for at least 10 weeks. Alright, I'm just going to message Will and get him to join. Alright, give me 1 second. You ready? Now, Will's never done a space before, so he may not know how to join. When you're in... Oh, there he is. Okay. So. Right. They have to request a mic, and then I can give it to them, I believe. Will request a mic. Yeah, if you press a button, Will, it should allow you to request a mic, and then I should be able to give it to you, I think. Now, of course, I have never run a space before. Ah, there we go. So, Will's requested. I press that button. Approve. Hello, Will. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
No worries. No, thank you for doing this. I think it's a fantastic idea because there's just been so many excuses instead of actually getting involved. And the simplest way to get involved, like you've said so many times, is just to ask you questions. So that's what this is here for today, right? You want a space for anyone to come and ask you questions.
Yeah, definitely. There's been a lot of flat earthers online kind of coming after me. And so it's like, hey, I'm not trying to hide. Just hit me with it.
Yeah. So if there's any flat earthers or any globe earthers, that, this isn't just limited to flat earthers, anyone that wants to ask Will questions about the final experiment, questions about the trip, clarifications about things that Will has said, because a lot of flat earthers have perceived some of the videos as being dishonest, and Will is here to be open and honest and transparent and answer any questions that you have. I do see there is so far no flat earthers in the chat, which isn't really that surprising to me. Will, what about you?
Yeah, I had my hopes up a little bit, but we'll see. There's still time.
Yeah, but there is some globe earthers here, and if any of you guys would like to ask Will any questions about the experiment, please just request the mic, and I will let you ask any questions. But Will, are you excited for the experiment? Because it's only, like 7 months away now?
Yeah, definitely excited. I was hoping everyone would share my excitement, but that hasn't been the case so far. I feel like, this is something that has never been done before, meaning getting together a group of people with, people from each side, flat earthers and globe earthers, and going to figure this out once and for all.
Yeah, I'm excited. I wish I could go. I really do. But I think there's better people that can go. And I'm glad that Dave is the one that's been chose. Is Rusty going to go as well?
I don't think so, unfortunately. No room on the plane.
Right, we've got Brenda, who's popped in. Brenda, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much for inviting me up.
No worries. Do you have any questions for Will about the final experiment?
Sure. One is, will it go forward if there are no flat earthers who come forward and volunteer?
Yeah, great question. It's putting the cart before the horse a little bit because we're only on number 2 of 24. So David Weiss has said no, and now the ball's in Jaron's court. I don't expect this to be the case for no flat earther to accept. But I will tell you that flat earthers who were not invited, so who were not part of the original 24 people that we invited from the flat earth side, other ones have volunteered to go. And so I think that the chances of having no flat earther go are pretty slim to none at this point.
Oh, okay. Can I ask another question?
Yeah, go ahead, Brenda. Yeah.
One of the things I've been listening to a lot of what they've been saying. Some of them have worries that are not reasonable. Some seem to have a concern about being asked to partner up or to be in the same tent with a glober, and they don't seem to want to do that. Is there any way to, boy, I don't know how to ask this, they're very concerned about being in the same tent with a globe earther, and seems like they would prefer to be with another flat earther once they're there.
Okay. I'm a little bit confused, Brenda, because if this is the greatest, conspiracy ever hidden from mankind, and all they had to do was be in the same tent with another person that they don't like to expose this, wouldn't that be worth it? The other thing, they're probably going to end up in a tent with someone who believes we live on a globe. So I'm a little bit confused. It definitely sounds like an excuse to me, but I will say this: if it is a major concern of theirs, we'll make a special request that they don't have to share a tent with Mr. McKeegan. Okay.
So one thing that I've heard about the trip while you're there is that there's certain hours where you have to be inside your tent. Do you have any information about like hours that you're actually allowed to be outside, or the hours that you have to be, safe and tucked away? Could you be out with your camera 24 hours a day if you wanted, or is that going to be restricted?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We have spoken to them ahead of time before we launched all of this, and they understand exactly what we're doing, and they're going to allow us to be out of the tent for the full 24 hours so that we can figure out what's going on for sure.
Oh, love it. Ilev, you've got a question?
Yeah, not a very big question, but something that I thought about after hearing several of your talks. I forget, what's the name of the guy that is running the funnel experiment?
Will Duffy. That's who's here.
Will
Duffy.
Okay. I heard you in one of the interviews that you did. I think it was either with FTFE or McToon, and you were asking, how are you if you're willing to change your mind if we see that the sun is not 24 hours at the South Pole. And my question is, let's say that the sun is 24 hours. We see it, you see it there just like we're expecting to see it, and we are concluding that now it's a globe. And you go back home, and in 2 months, 3 months, 2 years, whatever, another flat earther comes, and he says, yes, but you didn't do this experiment on a Tuesday.
Sure. Okay.
So my question is, at what point are you saying, listen, I'm okay for open mind, but you need to give me a legitimate question or a legitimate rejection in order for me to consider it?
Yeah. So number one, I think someone's confidence in their position is based on what they're willing to state ahead of time, what they're willing to wager ahead of time. And so I'm stating publicly as often as I can that if we get to Antarctica and the sun sets, I will no longer be a globe earther. I will be a flat earther. I have no problem saying that over and over and over and over again. The second thing I'll say about, the other excuses or, you did it on a Tuesday is this. I came up with the final experiment based on what the flat earthers have stated, which is that the 24-hour sun is impossible on a flat earth in the south. And I think that's pretty clear. Their position is it's not possible on certain days of the week or certain times of year. It's just impossible. I've been asking flat earthers if there's a third model that I'm not aware of where there could be a 24-hour sun, but it's on a flat plane, but it's not the current flat earth model, and no one has been able to give me that. So I think from a standpoint of falsifying one of the two models, whether it's the globe or the flat earth model, we will be able to do that once we're there.
I have heard several variations that allow for a 24-hour sun in the South Pole. Basically, assuming they said something like the firmament is reflecting the sun, so you're still a reflected sun.
Yeah, that would be hard though if it was a reflected sun, because at what point would it change from being the sun to the reflected sun? And the sun's going to be in front of you and behind you at different points in the day. Flat earthers are going to come up with every excuse under the 24-hour sun to deny what happens. So, that's something that we're going to have to accept. We know what the results mean. And we are all honest and intellectually honest enough to say that, well, if this doesn't go the way that we expect, then we're kind of screwed and we're no longer globe earthers.
Yeah, and the reflection idea is very, very problematic because you would at some point be able to see two suns. And so, hey, if we see two suns, great. Maybe there's a reflection going on, but I've never heard of anyone in Antarctica stating that they saw two suns. The other problem is that a reflection would be a mirror image. And so we will be taking solar photography, pictures of the sun to look at the sunspots. And if there's a reflection, then we would quickly see that those sunspots would be reversed. And so what I'm encouraging people to do is this. If they want to come up with ideas like, hey, what if there's a reflection? They need to come up then with solutions where we can figure out if it's actually a reflection or not. I'm trying to do science as best as possible here, which is think of all the variables, put forth a hypothesis, and then let's go test the hypothesis. We shouldn't come up with, hey, this might happen, or this is going to be my excuse if there's a 24-hour sun. We should say, hey, we want to know if it's a reflection or not, and here's how you can test it while you're there, and then we will test it while we're there. let's make this experiment the most robust experiment in the history of the shape of the Earth debate.
I like it. Got a couple of questions in my chat. Right, anyone here that's on X, do me a favor, go and tweet at all the flat earthers on X and tell them that Will is here to answer the questions. In the meantime, anyone in my chat that wants to ask Will a question, please feel free to either super chat or tag me in the chat, and I'll get to as many as I can. Will is here to answer your questions, to be as transparent as possible. Dave Slav asks, other than cameras and such that monitor the 24-hour sun, are there going to be any other experiments taking place whilst you're there?
Yeah, so I'm open to other experiments. There's a guy who's crowdfunding right now on YouTube. He goes by the name Critical Think, and he would like to do an experiment there that involves scales and weights. I'm not too familiar with the science behind it, but I believe the globe model states that you're going to have differences in weight based on where you're at on the globe. And so he would like to test that. And so any experiments that people can think of that we can do while we are there, I'll do everything in my power to make sure we can do them.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the Octos effect that would show a different weight depending on your latitude and stuff. Wolfie's shown that before with scales whilst traveling in a plane, but this is a really good opportunity to test that as well. Sava asks, are you going to be filming the whole trip? The plane from Chile or wherever you're going to Antarctica, is there going to be receipts of the entire thing?
Yeah, we're going to do as much filming as we possibly can. It's going to be, it's going to be difficult, obviously. When you want to film for long periods of time, you're going to run into storage issues. You're going to run into, batteries, all kinds of things. You have to be awake, to film. So yeah, we're working on figuring out how we can film as much as humanly possible. And to be fair, we'll give original unedited video to both sides, Flat Earth and Globe, so that there can be nobody claiming that somebody, took them out of context or changed their words or anything of that nature.
Fair enough. Dave Lister asks, out of all the days, is there going to be one day where everybody stays awake for 24 hours so no flat earther can be like, well, it's set when I was sleeping?
Yeah, we'll have to figure out those details as we get closer. We're planning this 6 months in advance for a couple of reasons. One, it takes a lot of planning to venture to Antarctica, to make sure you've got everything planned out, and two, just to make sure we're thinking through all of these types of details, taking in suggestions, and making sure we're going to have a good plan for one there.
Amazing. Well, it's quite showing that no flat earthers have been here, even though some retweeted my tweet from earlier. Post, tweet, whatever you want to call them these days. Sparky Steve, £5 super chat, thanks. Will, how many flat earthers do you think will join you? Do you think it would just be the one that's paid for, or do you think any other will try and crowdfund?
I would have thought originally that they would crowdfund, but now with the reaction I'm seeing of not even wanting to interview me, I'm guessing they're not going to crowdfund. But here's what I would say. I would encourage flat earthers, if for some reason you've got something against me or you don't want to be a part of the final experiment, just go to Antarctica on your own. ALE offers, close to a dozen different trips a year, so you don't even have to go with us. You can just go on your own trip. This is, in my opinion, the moment that all flat earthers have been waiting for, which is the ability to get to Antarctica and be able to do something to show the world that we do not live on a globe. So this is the opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just so funny that they're not getting involved. Danny Turner for £2 asks, if two flat earthers wanted to go, would you pay for them both?
That's a good question. And I would say this. I would be willing to commit to finding the funding for two flat earthers. That's the best I can do now. But that is a pretty strong commitment. So I've got, wealthy friends that I would reach out to. I would also crowdfund, and I would commit to making that happen. So yes.
Yeah, it's. It doesn't necessarily have to come out of your pocket. There is other ways to, like you said, to crowdfund it. You've been kind enough to say that you're going to reach into your pocket and at least pay for one of them. So you shouldn't be expected to double that. But yeah, you would have great reach in helping to crowdfund, and I don't see why a flat earther wouldn't take that. But it's I'm waiting to see. So, Abdef, who's been a member for 6 months, says, Will, what latitude will the final experiment be done at? There is talk that 60 degrees isn't southerly enough, and that 80 degrees would be required to ensure the 24-hour sun.
Yes, this is accurate. The camp where we will be at is called Union Glacier, which is right at 80 degrees south. It's like 79 degrees, 46 minutes south. And so, you know, I originally thought it was going to be hard to get to that far south. That was based on a lot of flat earth content that states that you can only go to like the tip of a peninsula in Antarctica and not make it past, you know, 66 degrees south. But I found out that that was not the case. We can get very far south, and we will be.
Okay. Alejandra Vallejo asks, is there a particular flat earther that you would prefer to go?
That's a question I haven't thought of, and I really do appreciate it. I honestly want Jaron Campanella to go, personally.
Me too.
He's a good guy. He and I have had a lot of different interactions. I really like his stuff. I like how he puts together the debates, and I feel like he's a pretty honest guy. There's not a lot of claims of being a grifter for Jaron like you get with Dave Weiss. And so, yeah, Jaron's got my vote right now.
Okay. Histro Blagov asks, how would you feel if you go and do it and then the flat earthers just don't accept the results?
Well, I don't know what it means to not accept them. It's going to be very simple once we're there for one side or the other to quote unquote claim victory. So a flat earther, as soon as the sun is no longer visible in the sky, all they've got to do is go outside and take a 360 degree picture, or just even take a video with their phone where they just turn all 360 degrees. They'll have a globe earther with them and just state, hey, there's no sun in the sky right now. And that's the end of the story. They have successfully passed the experiment, and we do not live on a globe at that point.
Well, it's so refreshing to actually hear people say, look, I'm willing to state my reputation on something. I speak to flat earthers all the time, and they're just so... and it's like talking to politicians, it really is. They just refuse to give actual answers. Dave McKeegan, you may have heard that name, £2, and he asks, when and where is the after party?
That's a question for you, Craig, I think.
You can all come to my house. I'll tell the wife. She'll cook some haggis. Stefan Venn for $6.99 Canadian says, would you have the room or the ability to do a Foucault's pendulum test whilst you're there?
Yeah, we've been asked this a handful of times. I do love the idea, but I don't think it's going to be possible, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Since we're taking a plane, I'm just not sure how to get all of that gear there and assemble it and do all the work it would require, unfortunately.
And looking at the base camp that you would be at, I don't remember seeing any really big tall buildings, which is something you would really need to do the Foucault's pendulum test.
Yeah, definitely a lack of buildings in Antarctica.
Yeah, funny that. Man of War for 30, I'm not sure what currency that is, but thank you. Says, Will, what is your strategy to combat the penguin military?
Well, I guess we'll have to deal with that once we face them. The fact that we're taking a plane is going to help, because I think we're going to fly right over the penguins.
And he says, on a serious note, how do you intend to show flat earthers that you are actually at the South Pole and not just saying, because he assumes they will be extremely skeptic?
Yeah, I'm actually releasing a video on this on our YouTube channel, I believe on Tuesday. It's going to be very simple. Everyone is going to fly to Punta Arenas, Chile first, which is the southern tip of South America. Go ahead and look it up on a map. And then we've got a 4.5 flight to Union Glacier. So we're not quite going to the South Pole. And so if you go ahead and pull up on your map, whatever map you accept, even pull up a Gleason map if you want, put a pin in Punta Arenas, Chile, and then go 4.5 hours on a flight anywhere from there. And you're going to only end up in one of three places. If you go east or west, you're going to end up in the middle of the ocean. You'd have to fly 10.5 hours west to get to New Zealand from there. If you fly north, you're going to be going to somewhere very, very hot without any ice. And so the only place we're going to be able to be where we land and you can only see ice in all directions would be Antarctica to the south.
Well, that would definitely prove it to me, but you know. There's a flat earther in my chat called Elikasum, and he says, this experiment will fail to prove anything because you're going to a spot that everyone has already been to that has data from. Why aren't you going to a spot where they normally don't go?
Okay, so how do we start? Saying it won't prove anything is not valid. So we have a situation here where one model demands a 24-hour sun, and the other model, it's impossible. And so going there will show which model is correct. The reality is this: there either is a 24-hour sun in Antarctica or there's not. And so if we do care about the truth, we need to figure that out once and for all. So what's the second part of the question? Or if he wants to respond, again.
Well, it's just that he's trying to just say that because you are going to a place that's a base camp that they've been going to for 35 years, that it's not going to be getting anything new and won't prove anything. Basically, he wants you to go to a spot in Antarctica that nobody else has been before to do the experiment.
I see. So the fact that people have been here before doesn't really do anything because the people that go there are not interested in this debate. They're not going there because of flat Earth versus globe. They're going there because they want to visit Antarctica. They want to, do something that a lot of other people haven't done. And they probably almost guaranteed don't stay up for 24 hours and they just go to bed. So they don't even see what's happening with the sun. So us going there, having both sides represented is important.
Okay. Martin H says, how surprised are you, or how do you feel about the reaction to everything so far from the flat earthers? Has it been what you expected, or has it surprised you?
It's really surprised me. It's really surprised me. I just imagined that I tried to do this as fair as possible. So let's talk about the past for a second. Let's talk about, documentary filmmakers making Behind the Curve and, according to Jaron, taking him out of context. Like, that's not cool. Let's talk about, YouTube personalities like Logan Paul who lie about being a flat earther so that they can, get into their meetings and record them secretly. Like, that's not cool. I've tried my best throughout this entire thing to make it as fair as possible, to not have any cost borne by the participants, and to have both sides represented. And so I thought by eliminating all of those issues that have happened in the past, that it would be like, okay, this is a fair experiment. This one is the real deal. Let's do it. But so far that hasn't happened. As you can see on the scoreboard that we keep on our website, the score is 6-0. Flat earthers are unwilling to get on the scoreboard. And if it's not clear, it's very easy for them to get on the scoreboard. All they have to do is interview me, or they can make a public suggestion as to how we can make our experiment while we're there more robust, and they just won't do it. And by the way, they talk about the final experiment almost daily. So,
oh, yeah, absolutely. Sava has a question. Says, Mr. Duffy, why not go all the way to the South Pole? ALE offers trips there, according to the video you posted on your channel. Why are you not going there to do the experiment?
Yeah, the simple answer is cost. Just to give you an idea, the additional cost to get to the South Pole is around, $60,000 per person. And so it's just very, very expensive to get there. And so we don't need to go to the South Pole to see if there's a 24-hour sun or not. Where we'll be is far enough south.
Yeah, you're already, saying that you will cover all costs, because this is something that flat earthers have argued about with me on X, is that, whoever goes still has to pay 35,000, 40,000 in costs, but you have said that whoever goes doesn't pay a penny, right? All costs will be covered, all flights, all equipment, all lodging, everything. For the two that are chosen, there is no cost. Is that right?
That's right. All expenses will be covered.
Amazing. Monkey Cat Pat, I love that name. it says, Will, is there any flat earther that you just would not allow to go that you know of?
That's a good question, and I would say no.
Have you seen Daniel Pratt?
Yes, and
I would not want to go to Antarctica with Daniel Pratt.
Yeah, I'll say this. He was not one of the 24 that I invited to take part in the experiment. And I really do feel strongly that one of the 24 will accept. One of them, I can't say who yet, but one of them reached out to me via email and said he was interested in participating. He didn't say what that meant. And I have not connected with him yet, but he would be a great candidate if Jaron and Austin and Eric Dubé all say no. Those are the next 3 on the list.
Right. I'm going to try and ask you some questions that the flat earthers have been asking, because it's quite clear that they're not willing to come and ask you them themselves. They will, however, like you said, post every day about it, make complaints and cry. So I'm going to try and ask some of the questions that they've been asking. And a lot of them are based around perceived lies that you have said and things like that. And it's, I don't think you've lied. But I'm going to speak to you as though I'm going to give you the questions from the flat earthers, okay?
Great.
So let's start with your interview with Sean, the Kingdom one, right? Where you mentioned to him about the final experiment, and then he asked who was behind it, and you said you didn't know, and then you obviously came out and said it was you, and a lot of the flat earthers said that you lied. You did a response video to that saying
globe earthers would just disregard. I'm not going to tell anybody who's behind this to keep everybody interested, and that part did work. So that's my response. And I'll say one other thing too, which is that fortunately, if you think what I did is horrible and you think I'm a horrible person, I'm totally fine with that. Maybe you're right. Maybe I should not have said what I said. But I will say this. The beauty of science is that all of that gets thrown out. That's the purpose of science, is to get to the truth. Yeah. And so biases are eliminated with science. And so whether or not there's a 24-hour sun is true regardless of my actions. And I feel like all of us, whether you like me or not, should want to know the truth of whether or not there's a 24-hour sun there.
Yeah. So just to clarify, my stream dropped a little bit there. So just to refresh for the people watching, Will was caught off guard by the question of who was behind it. He hadn't prepared an answer for that. And if he had, it wouldn't have gone down that way. It's as simple as that. I'm assuming you kind of regret the way that you approached that now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's funny because I made a rule for myself when I created the final experiment, which was I wasn't going to do any interviews until my identity was revealed. And that was the one rule that I broke, was the interview with him. He actually approached me in some sort of a live chat on a debate. That's how that one came about. And I said yes. And so that's the main regret that I had, which is I wish I would have just waited, because then I would have been revealed and there wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. Okay. So the next response then from that, after your response video, there was one particular thing that you said, and the flat earthers have been chucking this around, where you said that you hadn't told anyone apart from the one or two people that needed to know. Now, then when you were doing your explanation and apology video, you mentioned how your dad called you afterwards because he knew that you'd lied. And the flat earthers' questions is, how did your dad know if you hadn't told anyone?
Sure. So I guess we've got to explain normal language and figures of speech. Uh-huh. So what I stated in my apology video was that I kept the final experiment even from my own family. Now, I was using the term family as a collective noun. It didn't mean every single person in my family, but it meant almost all of my family. So the only two people I told in my family were my wife and my dad. I didn't even tell my mom. My dad and mom are divorced. I didn't tell my siblings. I didn't tell my grandparents. I didn't tell anybody. So that's what I meant, is that I didn't tell even my own close relatives and my own close family about it. That's how secret I kept it. but my dad is somebody who I've got a really, really, really strong relationship with. And so he's somebody I told about it. And then obviously I told my wife as well, because I had to get her permission to even do this whole thing.
Yeah, obviously you've got to ask your wife. My wife wouldn't ever let me do this. She barely lets me go outside because I hurt myself too much. Right, so that from I understand this, but this is questions that obviously the flat earthers have been having, the things that they've been trying to say that you've been dishonest about. Right, the other thing is the website. There is claims that your website is misleading, and that it doesn't explain clearly enough what the difference between a participant and somebody going on the experiment is. And the claims are that you've done that on purpose to make everything very vague. Do you have a response to that?
Definitely have a response to that. Every time I get these complaints, I try to improve the website. So we haven't announced this yet, but the website now has an interviews tab, which is keeping track of anyone that interviews me, whether they're an invited participant or not. There is a scoreboard on that page. There is a flat earther that's on the scoreboard on that page. I've actually, what's funny is the one person that has defended me on this is none other than Flat Earth Dave. So Austin Whitsitt lodged this complaint against me as well.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's a video that someone sent me. I think it was like a Flat Earth Friday or something. And Austin made this complaint, and Dave actually interrupted and said, actually, Austin, Will has been clear about this since the beginning. He stated in the emails to us what it took to become a participant, and he stated it in videos. And so he actually came to my defense. So we've tried to tell everyone as much as possible what it takes to become a participant. And on the website, there's a link when someone does participate called official entry. And the official entry for 5 of the 6 is either interviewing me or making a suggestion. And then on Dave McKeegan's spot on our website, it says that he's Antarctica bound. So he's the only one our website says is actually going to Antarctica. But because of all these complaints, I'm going to update the website again, and I'm going to add an FAQs page, which will answer all of these questions pretty clearly for people. Approved
I really appreciate you being as honest as you can. We've just had someone else join as a speaker. I've approved them, but they seem to have disappeared. RT, hello.
Hey, FTFE, and Will, I think you're doing it right. I had a question. If you had the same suspicions about Jaren that I did, first of all, I think you're doing it right, regardless of all of their pedantic nitpicking about your character. Invite everybody to the party and let the fruit ripen on its own accord. I was wondering if you think Jaren is trying to stall because he doesn't want an 0 for 24 situation, which would make them all look bad. And if he's not doing it, then screw him. I mean, the guy's complaining about a winter coat, so just go to the next guy, right?
So I'll say this. I have had and continue to have private conversations with Jaren. We've had phone calls, we've had text messages, we've had private messages. So there's a lot of information that the general public is not privy to. And I don't want to state what that conversation is, but I'll tell you that my conversation with him so far feels like he's honestly considering it and he has honest concerns. And so I am just engaging him at that point right now, thinking that he's, being honest about all of this. And he's going to be interviewing me next Wednesday around this time. And that will get him on the scoreboard, which is great. That's all it takes is interviewing me to get on the scoreboard. And I'm not sure yet if he's going to state during that show if he's going to go to Antarctica or not. But I'm excited to hear what he's going to say. And he's probably going to have some tough questions for me, which is fine. I'm happy to take any questions from anyone.
All right, I was just going to follow up real quick with I have my doubts because he already edited the thumbnail for that interview making you look evil or something when you made that joke on your last video.
Oh, what joke?
The Daleks joke.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Are people upset about that or something?
I don't know. I thought it was funny.
No, you just did like a creepy face introducing the Daleks, and that's the picture he chose. It's it's part of the flat Earth game.
Yeah, the only reason I put that in there was because The Dalek literally says, "Take him for the final experiment." I just thought it was epic. So.
Okay, right. So there is a couple of people that have been given this question. There's a super chat, $10 from Chris. A couple of things are facts. One, flying to Antarctica will show you go there. But then Captain Pikes asks, how do you... well, I love that you respect your wife enough to discuss this. What about the second sun claims? Because there's a lot of people that are claiming that there could just be a second sun. And how would you deal with that?
Yeah, if there's a second sun, so we will take a picture of it and probably win some sort of an award for being the first person in the history of the human race to see two suns in the sky at the same time.
Yeah,
so
that would be amazing. I look forward to collecting your Nobel Prize.
Yeah, that's kind of an exciting thing. The second question I would have is the second point I would make is this. If there's a second sun, are you guys saying that the second sun does a circle over your head wherever you happen to go in Antarctica?
Yeah. The excuses that are coming out, like when I was debating Austin Whitsitt, and I asked them about it during the debate, as soon as they then said, yeah, it could be 24-hour sun that would destroy the flat Earth, Austin Whitsitt then went straight to, oh, what about China's fake sun? You know, they're trying to make excuses before it happens.
Yeah, I don't know much about this fake sun, but from what I've read, it was not really. I wouldn't call it a fake sun that would light up an entire geographic area for 24 hours. I think it was something that was maybe for like 8 seconds or something.
Oh no, it wasn't even that. The fake sun is literally just a nuclear reactor, which is underground underwater. That's what it was. But then there was also a video of a rocket launch from China with a really bad camera that had lots of glare on, which flat earthers somehow put the two together and thought that was a fake sun going into the sky. It was quite funny.
One of the reasons we're going to Antarctica for 5 days instead of just one is because we're gonna be able to get a lot more data over 5 days than just 1 day.
Yeah. Right. So, Robot Polisher is someone that has also done a couple of videos about you. And one of the things that he keeps saying and keeps going on about is how the experiment isn't the right one to do. And the experiment that you should be doing is having two groups of 24 people starting at the north and different ends of Antarctica and then meeting at the South Pole. So Robot Polisher would like to know, are you willing to fund 48 people to do an entire trek from the edge to the South Pole and back again?
Okay, so here's what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to promote him doing that experiment. I will even be one of the 24 participants if he wants. Putting something together like I have done here with the final experiment is no easy task. I've put time into it, I put energy into it, and I put my money where my mouth is. So if he thinks that that's a good experiment and he thinks that that will settle the debate, do it. And I will promote it, and I'll even join if he'd like.
Yeah, his main point was that you know that the experiment you're doing won't prove anything, and that's why you're doing it. I mean,
okay, so here's what I'd like Robot Polisher to help me understand. Then I came up with this because the flat earthers said it. I heard the flat earthers say it all the time. Dave Weiss said it. Austin Whitsitt said it. Jaron said it. Dean Odell said it. Nathan Oakley said it. They all said there cannot be a 24-hour sun on a flat Earth, and that if there is a 24-hour sun, it proves the globe. So this idea actually originated with your side, not mine. Yeah,
I absolutely know that. However, there is, there's lots of different factions of flat earthers, and it's very hard to get them all to agree to one particular thing. My favorite thing about this experiment is how much it all made them panic. And well, I know that wasn't really your intention, but you're right. They've been asking this for years, and you right, I'll do it, and then they're like, oh no, you're doing it wrong.
Well, speaking of different factions, to my knowledge, there is no faction of flat Earth that believes there's a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Show me one person that's ever said there's a 24-hour sun in the south on a flat Earth prior to the final experiment, and I don't think you can. So if there is a action. It's only because of the experiment that I've proposed that we haven't even done yet.
Yeah, no, flat, like someone just said in the chat, Flatzoid is one person that said that until you announced this, and now he's backtracking. There's a lot of flat earthers like, oh, it's stupid to look at the sky to try and figure out the floor. But there is going to just be excuses, so many excuses. And my question is, how do you plan on, once you're back, and we know that what's going to happen, you're going to see the 24-hour sun. How do you plan to then, once you're back, deal with all of the flat earthers backtracking?
Well, I think we should give them the benefit of the doubt, and let's see if they do backtrack or not. I really do want to give them the opportunity to be honest. I really think that there's a lot of wasted time spent on this debate, and all of that energy could be put forth to better things. So why not settle this in December and move on to greater things?
So one other question that was being asked by some flat earthers on X was, why aren't you being transparent and showing the list of the 24 flat earthers and the 24 globe earthers that you invited?
I like that. So we are transparent about it. We have an entire video called "The Participants," and it goes over every single one by name. If you go watch that video, I spent countless hours finding clips to make every single one of the 48 of them look good. But it's a great idea, and I can add their names to the website. And again, I'm happy to do that. I think it might make them look bad right now since they're not participating, but happy to do it.
Yeah, I think as much updates to the website as possible. Every time someone says you're not being transparent, is just ask them, how would you like me to be transparent, and then just do it. I think that, for me, that is all the questions that I have heard the flat earthers come up with. I really wish the flat earthers would have come here and asked you them themselves. Little disappointed that the space is here, you're here, and they won't come and speak to you. How many flat earthers have actually contacted you asking to have a conversation with you?
That's a great question. If you're talking about the 24, I have heard from 4, I believe.
4 of the 24.
Yeah, that I've actually heard from, where they've responded to my email, or they've reached out to me via email, or they've reached out to me with some sort of a private message. I have heard from a handful of flat earthers who have heard about the final experiment and have questions. But yeah, I think I've only heard from 4 of the 24.
Okay. Honestly, I don't think that there's any other questions. I have a bit of a different one here. Bill Tetley says, "Hi, Mr. Duffy, I hear you're a pastor. What is your favorite verse?"
Interesting. I do not have a favorite Bible verse.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. It's... okay, so there was one other one, and this one's going around, and it's a bit of a personal one, and don't answer if you don't want to. But the question is basically, where's the money from? Is it from you being a pastor?
Yeah, happy to answer this. It's definitely not coming from me being a pastor. It was not in the plans for me to become a pastor. My pastor, who was one of my best friends, passed away unexpectedly late 2021. And after that, we started looking for a new church, and his family, including his widow, so his wife, approached me and stated that he did not really make this public, but he had always thought it would be cool if I took over the church one day far down the road when he was of a normal life expectancy age. And so when she told me that, I kind of felt an obligation and a calling to do that. So I took over for the church. I had a successful career in finance in the past. I wrote 3 books on finances and investing, and so the money just came from hard work, and it's coming straight out of my bank account.
And the follow-up question to that from the same flat earther was, well, why do you care about the flat earth, and why are you willing to spend so much of your own personal money to disprove the flat earth?
Yeah, I think that this is something that's super important. And I think that the results, one way or the other, will better humanity. And I'm trying to, move the conversation forward in a very, very significant way. If the earth is flat and they're hiding that from us, we need to expose that and we need to know that. And this would be, I think, the greatest exposure that we live on a flat Earth that has ever happened. Imagine everyone, stating that there's a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, and we go expose that that's not the case.
Yeah.
That will blow this whole thing wide open. And so, whatever the results are, I think it's going to better humanity and allow us to, move on and do some better things.
So, what happens for you if it turns out the Earth's flat?
That's a good question. So obviously the first thing is to change my position and start to understand what beliefs I have that are not true and figure out what we can do to further discover the truth. That's really what life, at least for me, that's what life is about. I want to know the truth. I want to know things that I believe that are wrong so I can correct them and, just keep pursuing truth.
Awesome. Well, Will, I think that it's probably worth just ending it there. There's no flat earthers that are coming. I've asked every question that I can think that the flat earthers have asked me and going on about me on X because for some reason they think that I'm your spokesperson or something. I'm not sure, but they keep tweeting at me for the flat earth, the final experiment being a fraud for some reason. I just want you on record just to confirm that Will you make any profit from any part of this experiment?
Zero profit. So I have no financial relationship with any company or anything. I will not make a dime. I'm going to be out a lot of money, but I think it's worth it, which is why I've spent so much time and energy on this.
Excellent. Right, there was one more question in the chat from Saba. He says, you got your interview with Jaren in a few days. How do you expect that to go?
That's a great question. I just don't know. Jaren has, stated he's going to be asking me some difficult questions. I don't know what those questions are, but I don't shy away from that. So I'm excited to be on there. And if this interview is a legit situation where he just needs me to answer some difficult questions to feel comfortable going, then great. We'll see what happens.
All right. Okay. So last call for anyone in the space to ask for the mic to ask Will any questions. Going once, going twice. You have had your chance, guys. I'm disappointed no flat earther came, but Will, I've tried to represent flat earth as much as I can here, and I hope that together we've answered the questions that they've been asking.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. If they weren't here just because it was not a good time, ask them what time will be good, and I'll make it happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's plenty of people that would gladly host the space. I'm sure Toon would do it or lots of other people. I appreciate you being so open and honest. But yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to shut down the space and thank you everyone for coming. Goodbye. Well, there we go. That was the Ask Me Anything with Will Duffy. No flat earther turned up, which for me is not a massive surprise. I didn't expect the flat earthers to turn up. Jaren will be interviewing him on Wednesday, I think it is, and I'm looking forward to seeing that because it is the first time that a big flat earther has actually taken up the challenge to interview him. Gonna read the rest of the super chats. Danny Turner, £2 says, I love Flerfs are Idiots. Glad it is coming back. Me too. I absolutely love Flerfs are Idiots. And you know what? After this stream, there will be a rerun of a previous episode. Let me just get that premiere set up properly for you guys. So what I'll do is I'll just go in and I will set up the premiere for, let's say, 15 minutes time. What we at? We'll do it at 1:10. Okay. Captain Pikes, will there be a live stream from Antarctica? Yeah, I'm pretty sure there will. Sorry, I missed that one. Stephen Jarvis for £5 says you have to go below 66.6 latitude to get the 24-hour sun. Yes, you do. You can go on a cruise, but no Flerfs will go. Liz K, member for 17 months, says the flatties have been running hard. Pig Beaners, member for 14 months, says take Cece's wife, she needs a break, bless her. Mano War, read that one, thank you very much. David Harrington for $2 says they will see it and say caustic crap like Nathan T. See level, because you see the level. Sparky Steve says for £2 the after party is in the NASA moon base. Shh, secret. Darren for $2.99 says do the Falcott's pendulum there and live stream it. Not enough space, I'm afraid. Captain Pikes $4.99 says Will, just send me half the cash and I'll argue 100% less than a Flerf. Yeah, just send me half the money. Sparky Steve for £5. We need to be aware that these flat earth nutcases will 100% try and sabotage the filming, and maybe even worse. Plenty of tranks will be needed. RT96 for $5. If there's a way to counter the inevitable I was drugged, mind control, brain chip implanted complaint from the Flerfs, just call them idiots, really. Read that one from Bill Tetley. Thank you. Stephen Jarvis for £2 says, could we go fund me a one-way ticket for Flatzoid to space? Maybe, that would be good. Industrial Nerd member for 16 months says, if you can't find the Flat Earther to go, would you be willing to take a poe? No pose. No pose. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Now, I am close to the target of having enough money to sort my PC out and upgrade it and everything. I need like another $800, right? And I'm working on that. And if anyone wants to help out in any way to get towards that target of upgrading my PC, hopefully it'll stop the buffering and stuff that's happening. I still need to get a new graphics card and a new CPU. And if anybody really does want to help out with that, the target is close, and you know, once I'm done, the streams should be a lot better. I'm never going to ask you guys, but if you really want to help out, then you could chuck me a tip at paypal.me/FTFE. And if one of my mods would be kind enough to put the link to that PayPal in the chat. I mean, I've done everything I can. I've bought better internet. I've got my Starlink to try and sort it out. I do not know why the buffering keeps happening, and I just need a bit more of a powerful PC, I think, is the way to sort it out. So thank you everyone for that has donated so far to the PC fund. I really, really appreciate it. And if anyone else wants to give a tip to help get the PC up to 4K streaming quality, paypal.me/FTFE, and I'll be thankful forever. This has been a fantastic month. It really, really has. I've had a lot of fun streaming for you guys and releasing a bunch of videos. There's a lot more to come. And then on the 14th of June, there will be a new episode of Flerfs Are Idiots. Thank you, everybody. Captain Pike says, are you hardwired? Ethernet? Yes, I am. I am hardwired. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I really appreciate it. You are all amazing. I love every single one of you. Not you, Gary. Can we just, you know, pretend that airplanes in the night sky are like, I don't know, shooting stars?
Can we pretend that airplanes in the night sky are like shooting stars? Should be wishing for a brain right now, brain right now, brain right now.
Good morning, these words come with a storm warning. Better batten down the hatches, grab some matches and brace yourself for a long day of misery. YouTube has given me the power to reach up into the sky and show you all that we live on the ball. I bring you science that's comprehensible. Your view is indefensible. You're reprehensible. Go on, Mr. Sensible. When I was young, I never thought I would be here to see this. A pile of random nonsense dressed up as bullshit. Your ignorance will be the death of us all, like running head first full speed into a wall. You could always read a book, buy a telescope, set it up and take a photo of the moon, or just be a buffoon. I send you in a balloon up to the stratosphere on page 3.
You're a few fries short of a happy meal. You're dumber than a box of hair. The wheel's spinning but the hamster's dead, and you're as smart as bait. You You forgot to pay your brain bill. You're missing a few buttons on the remote control. 24 cents short of a quarter. You're surfing in Nebraska. You're as bright as Alaska in December, and you fell out of your family tree. You don't have all the cornflakes in one box. You got an IQ of 2 and it takes 3 to grunt. The elevator doesn't go all the way up, and there's a vacancy on the top floor. Your antenna doesn't pick up all the channels. You're several nuts short of a
You're Mr.
fruitcake.
Sensible, calm down, don't go too hard. You don't need the hard burying Flerfs in your backyard. You're a man of science, poise and grace. Mage 2 did everything to wipe the grins off the face. So Nathan, get away from those kids. The world is not flat and it doesn't have a lip. Recognize the differences between the textbook and the Bible and control yourself. Lay off your slander and your lies. You're a bunch of knobs poisoning the well of the youth, spreading lies that you like to claim as knowledge and truth. Stop spreading fresh bullshit like the butter on your bread. Maybe your musical assault will knock some sense into your head. I hope one day you'll hear these lyrics and smile, and you realize you used to be a 40-year-old child. Now it's time to wake up, open your eyes and see, and acknowledge the existence of.
You're a few clowns short of a circus. Your phone is off the hook. Your sewing machine is out of thread. You're all foam and no beer. You don't have all your dogs on one leash. An intellect rivaled only by garden tools. There's no grain in your silo, and your skylight leaks a little. Your belt doesn't go through all the loops. You couldn't pour water out of a boot without instructions on the heel. Your slinky's kinked, and you're proof that evolution can work in reverse. A few feathers short of a whole duck, one fruit
Can we
loop short of
pretend
a
that
full bowl.
airplanes in the night sky are like shooting stars? Should be wishing for a brain right now, brain right now, brain right now. Can we pretend that airplanes in the night sky are like shooting stars? Should be wishing for a brain right now, brain right now, brain right now.
You thought it was over? Well, I'm still standing while you're swinging, flinging feces, talking shit just like the human centipede. You got the mind of a chimp, and I'm here to expedite your shore leave. Cause I'm a seaman, but not the kind I ripped up on your mum's gums. I'm the kind that sailed submarines and fired guns. I could float a boat across the ocean with my eyes closed, circumnavigate the globe with a compass and a bag of sausage rolls. Well, all you can do is nibble on your toes. I'll smack you with the hose that you taught a water level, sit and swivel. You nasal gazing muppet, you can stuff it harder than the wallet stuffed by Warren Buffett. And I don't care about your sauces unless you're serving them. And I don't care about your lines unless you're curving them. Now step away from me, you're sucking up my oxygen with the vacuum where your brain should be, you dumb fuck. Thank you, everyone, for watching. It's always a pleasure to have you here. You make my day. Every time I see every single one of you, and you, not you, Gary. Remember that stupidity is not a right. Fight the flat earth. That was fun.
The FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Earth thinks that evolution is real. Chemtrails don't exist, vaccines work. Climate change is happening, we landed on the moon. The FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Welcome to the FTFE show. Study is not a right. Baby, it's not a right. Nathan Oakley has a small penis. Nathan Oakley has a small penis. It's basically an idiot. Baby, it's not a right. Fight the flat earth. It's basically is not right. Fight the flat earth.
Fight the flock, 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 fight the flock,